Alice, couple of developments. Not only is my bottle of clear liquid missing from this room,
Yeah.
but a moment ago I was just trying to mess with this light to make more light, and it was flickering on and off. So I tried to screw it tighter, and it exploded in my hand. So there you go. But
wow.
You know what? I'm not going to sweat the small stuff, and you know what? It's all small stuff.
I've heard people say that. Yes.
How are you enjoying Avon? Me and James just went to this store called Fresh Market. It's a I guarantee Martha Stewart shops there. It is a beautiful person's Connecticut store. And that's where we just got some sushi there and a sandwich, and you had a piece of chicken. How was that?
It was great. I loved my piece of chicken. It was awesome.
We got two. We got one sandwich, turkey sandwich. We got 12 pieces of sushi, which was $11. I then got some sashimi, which was $12. I then got a gift basket for my producer, which was $30. And then I got a case of Mick Ultra organic seltzers, which were $20.
Signature flavors only.
Signature flavors only. Those devices, Alice, came to a grand total of $100.
Yeah, sounds about right. Right.
Oh,
Had a great time today, by the way, in Glastonbury, Connecticut, at Tom's Live Remote, where we talked to Dan Moresi, who's awesome.
Yeah, he's a Minifan.
Minifan. Talked to Mark the Shark from WTIC, also a big Minifan. Did you know this about him?
I don't know if I knew that he was a Kirk guy. I knew he was a Jerry guy. Wow.
He's a Jerry guy. He's also a Kirk guy. He was like, loved you on Kirk's show. It was great. I was so excited. So, yeah. So, everyone's been a fan, I guess, deep down.
Mark Christopher is a great guy. And so
fantastic guy. Gave our children a fire pit and s'mores.
I'm sure
he won at an event.
He's one of these. He's a real radio guy. So he does traffic and sports and this and that and everything. But he's a great guy. Great guy. All sorts of great people down in.
And it was funny because I believe he's your colleague at Odyssey, correct?
Yeah.
Which used to be known as a company called Entercom.
Correct.
And he was like ripping Entercom for not defending Kirk and Jerry.
Alice.
Okay.
It's privileged information. We don't mean he was. Somebody standing next to him.
Right, somebody else was.
Jesus, Alice. This is why women are not given the right to vote, because you guys are careless.
I guess so.
So, the only thing that I was mentioning, and there's not too much to say about it. This is my by the way, my City of Hartford Fire Department. Thanks to my friend Mark Walsh from the Hartford Fire Department. But I am getting all sorts of gifts. I appreciate that, by the way. Mark the Shark gave me a gift from his friend. I think it's his friend Dick, who I'll get the shirt. I'll show you the shirt when we get home. Needless to say, the name Dick is used several times. And Bob from what's the college? What's the only good college left? Hillsdale. Yeah, gave me a book too. It's nice. I like. See, the giving presents to Tom Shattuck is good because there's no sport in it for me because I am a thief. But I do appreciate it. I do like. I can do the T-shirt thing all day. There's nothing that I'm too cool for. It's pathetic, but it's fine. So
Morgan in the chat says Jerry took shots at the Minifans today.
I gotta listen. I didn't listen to Clemmer either.
We haven't listened to anything yet. Yeah, I wanted to listen to Kirk this morning, but I waited so that we could listen together. See, that's true love.
It is. Well, I mean, that's kind of what we do. You ask people what they're binge watching and whatever. We just kind of watch KMS, and then usually separately we listen to Jerry, and that's it because we can only do stuff.
We usually hit at least Tucker's monologue, although we didn't do that because we don't have our DVR here, and we're not usually free until after that. Although it was quite the monologue last night when he said Zelensky was dressed like a strip club owner.
It's a great line. It's such a great line.
It is.
So where are you on how Zelensky is dressed?
I don't like him dressing that way. I mean, partially because I guess mostly because it's so fake, it's such like performance art. And I find the whole thing with Zelensky distasteful. Hey James, can you go turn off that the heater AC or whatever just turned on? Um, I find the whole thing such a mess because it's he's so like staged and them all fawning over him and loving him like it's like uncomfortable to watch. He's not that great a guy. Putin's a bad guy. I get it. I can't say I'm necessarily opposed to doing stuff that you know that weakens Putin over time.
Right.
Even though I tend to like Russia overall, but I'm not a Putin person. But you know, Zelensky's not great either. Like Ukraine is also corrupt and a mess, and like them treating him like he's this huge celebrity slash saint slash whatever, and like then he's dressed in like fatigues or whatever stupid stuff he wears. Like it was some sweatshirt today. I just find the whole thing so distasteful.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
gross. Like
I
I
mean,
don't like it. Just don't lie to me. Just say like we need to spend money here to weaken Putin and it's the Cold War again or something. Like just be honest, but don't like treat it like it's this moral thing and that we all have to love
well, he put
Zelensky
it
for some
interesting. He
reason.
said it's an investment, and I think that's a good way to spin it. I mean, he makes a better case for it than we do, than the administration does. Um, and I,
But the way they act about him is so
well, that seeing
gross.
that thing yesterday. Well, they're all fawning over him, trying to get close to him and touch him. That is weird and gross
Let me
and
just
odd.
touch
Yeah,
the hem of your garment.
yeah, that was odd and gross. And that adults do that just tells you what kind of leadership we have in this country. That said, so I also think I know that people talk about his brand building, and he has no problem there, and they're saying like it's fine because, and it's true. The Russians have been trying to kill him, and he is in an area that's being shelled constantly. I mean, usually. So I understand, and it might be a solidarity piece with his guys, and it kind of shows you, this is an all-in war. So even the presidents get fatigues on. So I get the utility of him. I do think that it was a mistake for him to wear it in Washington D.C. because he didn't come in looking like a head of state. He came in looking like Che Guevara. He came in looking like a guerrilla and an insurgent rather than a head of state. If he's a head of state, then I think the case can be made for more Americans that are real sovereign countries under attack from the bad Russians, and that
Mm.
would have been better for him. But he's not. He doesn't look or act like a president, and half of it is that he's been so cheapened by American celebrities who can't stay away from him for some reason. God, please, somebody fill the souls of these celebrities who travel there so they can shake his hand and say what an honor it is.
Are you still there? You just stopped really suddenly.
No, I was just finishing
You
a.
were just done.
This is over.
You were done with the celebrities and
That's all.
Zelensky.
That's about all I have with.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, no, I mean it's all been done. I'm like, obviously we're gonna give him even more money. Like it's absurd the amount of money we've given them, and most of it goes back to our defense contractors that pay Congress, and it's stupid. So, we all know what it is. It's gross, but we're just continuing to do this. um, but yeah, Morgan saying even Ben Shapiro likes him,
Well,
etc.
I mean,
It's
Putin is a thug
yeah,
and
no, Putin's not a good guy.
gangster, and like I don't think I I I think that we should be helping Ukraine. It's a good way to stick it to Putin, and that's a gangster state, and that's good. We've been having a kind of soft war with the Russians now
Right.
for a long time. And to make them hurt, that's good, and maybe this will get them whacked, and who knows what the next guy will be like. That said, I don't like Zelensky demanding more aid, saying it's all everybody's responsibility, and at some point we're going to have a conversation because Zelensky wants to win the war.
Right. He doesn't want to negotiate.
Right. And at some point he has to negotiate, or he doesn't have to, but at some point the American largesse it has to end at some point.
Oh, I mean, I think at some point can be a really, really, really long time away, though. I think the United States, like in general, the uniparty, the big blob of Washington, D.C. is willing to give countries money to fight wars for a long, long time. Like, I
Well,
mean,
it's good business.
like, like 20 years long, you know? I mean, I don't think we're not even a year in. We're not
Yeah.
close to being done with this, believe me. Like,
Yeah.
we're willing, Washington, D.C. is willing to fund Zelensky with our money for a
The
long
defense
time.
budget never seems to contract at all.
I know.
Grew after Afghanistan and Iran and never really contracted after that. And now we've got a new war that funding. It is. I mean, they talk about the military industrial complex, and it sounds conspiratorial when you say it like that, but it's big business. There's no doubt
But
about
it's
that.
so funny. The left used to be all about this and like Dick Cheney and Halliburton,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And like now it's like, yay, war stuff. We need to buy them more weapons. Like, okay, I mean, it's fine. I'm not necessarily opposed to sticking it to Putin, but like,
Just so you guys know, we are actually right across the hall from each other. But with
mhm.
the technology of a certain mixer, which we won't mention, it's in yesterday's title, I believe. We can't do it next to each other because we just can't be done. So I'm going
Dennis in the chat says send Zelensky some Mackie sound equipment, actually.
to. Yeah, I can't wait to take that back next week. I'm so looking forward to it because I'm off next week. I'm doing the podcast, but and then I got to make some decisions as far as Substack goes, Alice.
Okay,
I mean,
we'll
I
talk.
have been simply screwing people, so I have to.
I know. We'll talk.
We'll talk. Okay,
Yeah,
you
we'll
pencil me in,
talk.
will you?
Okay.
Um, let's see. Tomorrow we're back in Avon, Connecticut. If you're around here,
Yeah, if you're in Connecticut, come by. We'll be right here at the Avon Old Farms Hotel doing that. In other news, and this is kind of like developing now today during the day as we're doing stuff, but Sam Bankman Fried out on bail. Both Caroline Ellison and this other guy, is his name? Gary
the
Wang.
rats.
Yeah, they have pled guilty and agreed to cooperate to try and get Sam Bankman Fried. So they both pled guilty to fraud charges. So he was indicted, and they're saying it's the biggest bail ever. It's $250 million, and he didn't have to put up the whole thing. Like you almost never have to put up the whole thing. It's like, partial or whatever.
Yeah,
But what's weird about this story, this is from NBC, is that the bond was secured by equity in his family home, which apparently I was reading online is worth $4 million, and by the signatures of his parents and two other individuals with considerable assets. And they're saying like one of those individuals is related to him and one is not. So like who's putting up bail for Sam Bankman Fried, I guess, is the question. Someone with considerable assets. So his parents, both Stanford law professors, were present in the courtroom. Bankman Fried was flanked by two U.S. Marshals dressed in a suit and tie. He'll also be barred from opening any new lines of credit for more than $1,000 while awaiting trial over what federal regulators called a brazen fraud at his bankrupt crypto empire. He claims he is down to a mere $100,000, a steep fall from grace for a man who was once the head of a $32 billion crypto empire. So, yeah, that's crazy. I'm curious to see who the individuals are who are posting his bond for him, aren't you? Or signing to say that they're responsible for him if he skips out pre-trial. Um, but yeah, I mean, what a mess. And the other two ratting him out. That's not good news for him, I would say. What else is going on in the world? I was just looking at this.
I'm glad you have, Alice, because
Okay.
I'd like to answer that question now.
Okay.
Where are you?
Hmm.
A left-wing coalition government in Spain involving socialists has passed a divisive bill allowing anyone from age 16 to change their gender. Children as long as 12 can also apply to transition. The bill removes the need for a medical diagnosis. So, I mean, that's the dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you need to go through a doctor? What's all the gatekeeping of trans identity? If you say you're trans,
Right.
right?
Right. It's dangerous.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, and so just like you're making a change to your body when you get your ears pierced, although that might actually be at 18.
You have to have your parents' permission to get your ears pierced, yes, unless you like do it at home.
Well, it's only fair. I think that my teenagers should be allowed to transition at 13 and then have the government assist them with suicide at 14. Seems like a perfect world.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's perfect. Um, I also thought this was an interesting stat. Okay, Disney had their earnings call today, and somebody posted this statistic. What percentage of Disney Plus subscribers, roughly, do you think are adults with no kids?
32, as a matter of fact.
Incorrect. Over 50% of Disney Plus subscribers are adults with no kids.
Well, this adult stuff on there. All the Star
Mm,
Wars are on
I
there.
don't think there's anything rated over PG-13 on Disney Plus,
Yeah, but
first of
all the
all.
Star Wars crap is on
Yeah, the
there.
Star Wars things, but that's like
The Beatles.
the Beatles thing. Yeah, we personally made sure about 17 different people didn't have to get Disney Plus subscriptions to watch the Beatles thing.
Nice white teeth.
I do.
It's your secret. Mine are
I brush them. I don't know.
mine are like mahogany colored.
You can use Crest White strips or something. I don't know.
No.
Um, but I mean, I get it, the Star Wars stuff is on there, but I kind of feel like, well, like we know people who've watched some of that Star Wars stuff, but they tend to just sign up for the season and then quit it. Or like, I mean, the Marvel stuff, are adults really paying? Like, what else would they watch on there? Like, once you're done with the Star Wars, like, what would you ever go to Disney Plus for?
Nothing.
I mean, like, I don't really
I
understand.
mean,
Like, we use,
but we do have it, right?
yeah, but we have kids, so we don't count as adults with no kids.
Yeah, I would only
Over
go there for the
over
Beatles thing.
50% of the subscribers are adults with no kids.
Well, maybe they're watching.
That's adults watching Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah, maybe they're watching Mando.
Probably. But it kind of boggles my mind, and it came back to this thing. I saw this person like retweeting and saying, I warned you about all the Disney adults. And I do think that like that was one thing that I found kind of eye-opening when we were at Disneyland was the number of people who were adults who were there without kids, and not just there and like going on rides, but like waiting in line in front of children to like meet Mickey Mouse.
Now that's weird.
I mean,
That's weird.
like I don't.
Those people to a T better be pedophiles. Other than that, there's no good reason to be
No,
doing.
but a lot of them are women. A lot of them are women. There's a lot of like women who are very
Well, I
into. I
mean,
mean, I like Disney movies as much as the
but
next millennial chick, but like I would never it would never occur to me to go to Disneyland
yeah,
on
but
my own as an adult. And if I
you have
did, I'd be
friends.
like going on
Yeah.
rides. I wouldn't be like waiting to meet Mickey. I really wouldn't. And I like
Else, you have friends who have become perpetually infantilized.
I
You
know,
know
but
that who would go there and would wait for Mickey.
I know that I do, but it boggles my mind that there's so many of them, right? Because I think that's like what that Disney Plus statistic kind of shows. And whether it's Disney or whether it's like Marvel or Star Wars, there are a bunch of adults who are like not full grown adults, in particular my generation. There were always a few out there, but like the millennials are now like either 40 or almost 40, and they still like are children. I don't I mean, I think it's the same people who are like doing these Silicon Valley things or like where when companies have big retreats and they get all the adults like a ball pit to play in or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there is a thing where we're infantilizing adults, but it even goes back further than that, right? Like I remember I had a friend when I worked in the makeup industry, and she had been a store manager at a Sephora, and she went to their big corporate event that was for all their different store managers from across the country. And they did an event where it was like you had to do karaoke to a song and they gave you construction paper to like make a costume for your team or whatever, and they got walk like an Egyptian and had to make, and she's like, I'm a like mid-40s professional and you're asking me to make like a construction paper walk like an Egyptian costume and like do karaoke to it at a professional corporate event? Like, what world am I living in? But Morgan says in the chat probably because they grew up with divorced parents alone, so they've bonded with TV, movies, and toys. Like, I mean, I think there's something to that. I think millennials have a huge, like, weird perpetual childhood thing that is not going away, and I think is only going to get bigger with more young people like continually being children for their entire adult lives. Like, I don't understand it at all, and I don't enjoy being in a corporate culture with people who are that infantilized either, which like so much of the corporate world is now this.
Alice, think about how your meetings start, your Zoom meetings for your work.
I know, but that's more mostly boomers causing that problem, I think.
An adult plays a song for everybody.
Yeah, we have a pump up song at my morning
Pump
work
up
meetings.
song.
It's true. Oh yeah, Morgan brings up adult Happy Meals. Did you see that recently?
No.
That they came out with adult Happy Meals with an adult collectible toy so that you can like recapture the magic of your childhood of having a Happy Meal. I mean, like, what are we doing? I'm I apologize for my generation. I don't know what's wrong, but I don't think it's healthy and good. And I think something should happen to you when you become an adult and have kids where you like don't care about stuff like that anymore, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think that but actually, that stuff is definitely usually supplanted by adult experiences. But if many of those aren't happening, if people aren't getting married and aren't having kids, then what's to supplant them? If you can be a perpetually single person with some disposable income, then you never have to move off of video games. And like,
Right.
with pornography, maybe you never have to move off to actual living warm women.
I think there is something to that, and that's only going to get worse with like VR and stuff.
Right. Right. I mean, I think that there's no real.
Julie and Phil bring up adult coloring books. That's true. The
I,
library in Melrose used to have adult coloring book night where you could go with other adults to the library and color in coloring books together.
I more than definitely need that bottle found. Maybe I'll ask the housekeeper if I can have it back just for a little bit.
Mm. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
But
so
also, as far as women go, like we talked about this 10 years ago when who were the guys before One Direction?
like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and
No,
that stuff.
after that, before One Direction, Jonas Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Jonas Brothers were coming to Boston Garden and like when I first started working at the Herald, right around there, and taking the train and getting off there and having all the moms with their daughters, and the moms all had like waist low pants and their belly buttons showing. All had concert t-shirts on.
Yeah.
Like the moms are all trying to be hot concert girls.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not really about being attractive. Generally, I mean, it's part of it is, but it's about being attractive like a teenager is.
Yeah, it's about wanting to be a kid again. It's about wanting to be that again, which you're not going to be.
Well, right. In this idea like that you're going back to like being the hot person, you're 41 now, going back to be the hot person you were when you were 21, it doesn't ever really work like that. It is finito. You get to be 21 and look great and stupid. That's how it works. And then
And then that goes away.
turns to smart and look great turns to not so great. And it's just how life is. It's fine. I mean, if I lose more weight, if I lose like whatever 50 more pounds,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be that hot item I was in 1993. There's just no way. I mean, that thing. Come on.
I know. We all missed out, Tom. I know I missed
You know,
out.
the only thing that you don't really miss out in I don't know that I just kind of look like James does actually. I look definitely like in every picture you see when I'm 20 years old. I'm absolutely
Mhm.
bleeding out of my mouth. That's one. And
Mhm.
two, it was just years before I really ground my teeth down to nothing and chipped them all. So I've got like more of a smile there. Other than that, we weren't working with a whole lot, to be honest. I was just youth. You know, youth
Mhm.
makes you look good.
So Tommy in New Hampshire says in the chat too, Matt Walsh did a story this week to say toy companies say adults are buying toys for themselves and it's a huge growth market. Morgan says he heard that too. I believe that. I know for a fact that a huge part of the Lego market is adults.
Yeah, I know a guy who was addicted to Legos, and I consider that his most unhealthy addiction, even though he went to rehab for something else. Um, don't do Legos. Can you guys just sit around and drink?
It's very fun and satisfying because I do, but do them with your kids. Like
It's not fun and satisfying. It's awful.
I enjoy doing it with the kids. I think it's fun.
Mm.
But yeah, but you are supposed to replace toys with other things as you grow into adulthood. Like you're supposed to have kids and
So it is interesting because even before you came along, Alice, right around before the months before you came along,
mhm.
around 2010, a bunch of us who in 2001 had gamed together and played Call of Duty, the original version.
Uh-huh.
A bunch of us got in touch, texted each other and said, "Hey, why don't we all, since all of us have high speed internet now, we don't have to go to the same room like we used to. Why don't we all get Call of Duty downloaded again and let's play like we used to?" And it was interesting because we used to play in our late 20s in one big room because we had a big place in Beacon Hill, a big bachelor
Mhm.
pad, and my brother was a computer guy, and so he had all sorts of machines that we could borrow and whatever. And so a bunch of us would play in a room, and you'd get very animated and angry at each other. We were all young and younger and vicious, and so we'd play games, and we'd go, then we go out to like Beacon Hill pub and drink a lot of beer and try to meet women, and usually not succeed. And then play more games. So we tried to do the same thing in our mid 30s, and it something was missing. And this is even before wife and kids for any of us.
Mhm.
There's something as you get older. And I think with a guy, it has to do with. I don't think it's like a low T thing. I think that when you're 26 years old as a guy, you're generally more feral, and you're
Yeah. I mean, there is something to that. A lot, and I've heard this said before. Like, I read an article. I think it was like in the New Yorker or something. It did probably 20 or 30 years ago. Like about well, I obviously didn't read it 30 years ago because I would have been 5, but probably 20 or
uh,
25 years ago.
can,
But
can you narrow down the exact years? I've been taking notes, Alice, so far. I want to make sure I get this right.
but it was like a liberal piece, like in the New Yorker or something like that, and it was calling
Can you just give me
marriage the
specifics on what
barbarian.
the publication was?
It was they called marriage a barbarian adoption society, and I think there's something to that. I do think marriage is really big on civilizing men, and I think that's a big part of like what we're seeing fall apart in society right now. There's a lot of people, some of whom are somewhat unsavory on the internet, who spend a lot of time talking about um, these sort of like dating markets and how the new like trend towards hookup culture and dating apps and stuff has made it so that more women go hook up with high value men who just hook up with all these different women and like don't end up with any of them. But the fact that the women are only going for those men means that they're not necessarily ending up with the guys they would have ended up with like 30, 40 years ago
Oh
and
yeah, and I knew people.
marrying them. You know what I mean? Like they're like a woman who maybe is like a 7, right? Is hooking up with a guy who's like a 9 and then he's leaving her and she's
Yeah,
not
I used to know
hooking
this.
up with any guys who are 7s
I used to
and
know this girl who used to hang out at the Boston Beer Garden,
mhm
and she was attractive. She was in sales. She made good money. She made like back then like 250K or something. It was, and she used to say always. And at this time we were in our early 30s. She used to say that she would never date a guy who makes less money than her, and she made $250,000. So she
so that was that for like
right, right.
99% of men.
Well, not only that. But so she would only date guys who were high finance or like pharmaceutical sales players who don't want to settle down because they're just as shallow as she is.
Right,
So it's like
exactly.
she's not seeing it though. It's like they're seeing her as essentially this hot body, and she's seeing men as a bank account. And she felt bad for herself because she's still not married. I don't think
Yeah.
per, 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 perpetually single. It's like if you're going to play the materialistic game, the superficial game, well, then expect it to be played on you. Once you're in that arena, everybody's playing it.
Well, right, and it's such a toxic dating culture for everybody, and like it does mean that fewer people end up together with like who they would have ended up with before there was this culture of just like hooking up with people, and it's that's also like something that's just like not healthy for our society for it to be that way where people aren't because of that factor that you're talking about where like the men who are unmarried just continue to be children and like play video games and buy adult happy meals and do legos, I guess, right? Is that you don't turn into an adult in a lot of ways if you don't get married, and I think that that's like part of what's going on right now, and it's only a problem that's going to continue to get worse as society continues to unravel and fall apart. um
There's a story in CNN that says Russian citizens are now crowdfunding equipment for troops.
yeah, they love these stories about all the problems the Russians are having. I mean, to an extent I believe it, but I also think that like I want to check my confirmation bias on some of those too.
Well, I mean, some of their equipment does suck. There's no doubt about
Oh
that.
yeah, no, that's for sure true. And they're definitely not having as easy a time as they would have wanted to have, for sure. I did want to hit one more thing that I thought was interesting that I ran into today. Um, that before we go to the chat, and that was this article from an economist about Uber and Lyft. That basically, he's done some driving for Lyft, and he's noticed that in recent days, a lot of times, um, Uber and Lyft are taking like a lot more of the fares than they used to. So basically, I was reading this. He did a bunch. Lyft doesn't publish their take rate, like what percentage of the bookings that they take, but Uber takes about 28% of the fares,
Okay,
right?
so if you're a driver, your Uber takes 28% from you.
hmm He said when he was doing Lyft, he personally experienced about a 48% take rate,
Wow.
that they were high, and that he feels that interest rates are hurting companies like Uber and Lyft because they've been growing so rapidly and they haven't worried about costs. And, there's been this boom in tech stuff, and Uber and Lyft are perceived as tech companies, even though they're really not tech companies. Like, they don't
Well,
have
kind of
any,
they are.
eh, but they're not relying on a particular, like, technology that anyone couldn't do. You know what I mean? Like, they're a booking app, but they're not like fundamentally they're like a taxi company with an app, right? Like they're not selling a tech product the way like Facebook is, right? But so anyway, he went through and he found that people have done um analysis on taxi companies in the past, and traditional taxi dispatchers end up costing about 15% of the rides. So it's actually less
Which
efficient.
goes back to the reason why cab drivers want to take cash.
Right. But all those dispatchers and stuff that end up taking costing roughly 15% of the total like volume of taxi business to run, that's actually way more efficient than the apparently 30 to 40% that Uber and Lyft are needing to run their businesses, and they're losing money. Like they're not profitable, and they're in these Silicon Valley offices, and like we're talking about like throwing lavish Silicon Valley parties and treating their tech employees to these lavish Silicon Valley perks, and they're not doing anything that's actually more efficient than what taxi dispatchers did, where you pay people in a call center to find taxis for people. That all that stuff turns out to maybe not be as efficient. And I found that really interesting, for one thing, because I've noticed that Ubers have gotten like way more expensive. The first time I went to California with our son, I Ubered around places, and the next time I just got a rental car because it was honestly just as cheap as getting the Ubers, the places that I needed to go. And like, I, obviously there's times when you need a taxi like thing, whether that's an Uber or whatever. But I thought it was interesting that it's not really clear that this has made like a marked improvement on the industry overall.
How has it not made? Well, I mean, the utility for Uber is that you don't have to talk to anybody. You can get in and get out, and
I mean,
no
that's
tipping.
true. So the nice thing, well, now they have tipping though.
Right, but you don't have to grease the guy right there. You don't even have to finish the transaction the same day. I
Well,
mean, I
yeah,
think I
but they
still have
rate
an Uber
you as a
transaction.
rider. They rate you as a rider, so you kind of do though, because then no one will pick you up if your Uber rating goes down. Like, so it's like a weird
How
social
is your
credit
Uber
score
rating,
thing.
Alice?
It's
Considering you
not
threw up
great.
in an
It's
Uber.
not great. My Uber rating is terrible. I've had Uber drivers ask me that. They're like, "You seem like a nice person. Why is your rating so bad?" And I'm like,
Is it
"I
because
don't
you
know.
vomited all over one of the cars?
Maybe." I don't really use Uber, so that's probably like the
Guys,
last time I used an Uber was that.
in full disclosure, it was her 30th birthday, and she hurled all over a car and had to be like detailed.
Yeah.
What an
So
amateur night out! I was in
so
there, by the way. It was hilarious.
um so anyway, that was like my last story. Morgan says when he lived in New York, there was another group of people taxi drivers wouldn't pick up. Well, I mean,
Yeah, well, I'm sure. I'm
I
sure.
think
Generally, cab drivers just
when
wouldn't pick up from shady neighborhoods.
when people don't have social credit scores like an Uber rating available, they make their own mental shortcuts to a social credit score, which sometimes end up with them um, making decisions that maybe we wouldn't agree with necessarily.
You ready for this chat?
I'm ready for the chat chat.
Matter
You
of
can
fact,
go
I
ahead.
actually call it the Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce Hotline.
Have you eaten any Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot
I've had a
Sauce
lot
today?
today. I brought it. Where did I bring it, Alice?
Breakfast?
Brought it into breakfast. I got my sausages. Actually, I put the picture up on the Instagram. I
Mm-hmm.
got my scrambled eggs, got my sausages, and covered the baby in Chelsea Fire Wicked Hot Sauce, and it was delicious, delicious. And I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. Okay, it's delicious. This is all natural. It's not BS. There's no like papaya in it. Nothing stupid like that. It's just great. It's got vinegar, red habanero pepper mash. Oh, I want to drink pepper mash. Smoked ghost chili powder, all that stuff. And they give a portion of the proceeds to the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Check them out at chelseafirehotsauce.com. All right. Oh, dang it. Sorry.
Hey, Tom and Alice, this is Dana from Maine.
I
Hope
did.
Hi,
all is
Dana.
well. Just wanted to reach out and say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year
You too.
Merry
to you,
Christmas.
your family, and friends. And also wanted to thank you for all the great episodes in 2022. I listened to every one of them,
Oh,
and
cool.
I laugh at least a couple times each episode,
Thank
if
you,
not more.
Dana.
So thanks for that. But what's really going to be funny is when all of my family and friends open up their gifts this year and they receive Chelsea Fire hot sauce. I will be laughing, but I think they'll be enjoying at the end of the day. So thanks for that recommendation. Anyways, thanks again, and looking forward to more episodes throughout the end of the year and into 2023.
Dana,
Have
thank
a good
you.
one.
Thank
Bye.
you, brother. Happy New Year and appreciate it. Appreciate you buying the hot sauce as well. And thanks for listening. That's great. That's great. Thank you. It's the listener feedback to know that actually people do listen. It's a good thing because there are those times when we're like strung out and the kids are all over the place and we're like, what are we doing exactly? So that's great to hear. We appreciate that, Dana. By the way, Alice, who did he sound just like?
I don't know. Who did he send?
Listen to this again. Now, you're not as familiar with this guy, although you've spoken to him as I am.
Tim and Canton?
No.
Oh, I
Hey,
don't
Tom
know.
Alice, this is Dana from Maine. Hope all is well. Just wanted to reach out and say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
I'll give you a hint. This person's also from Maine.
I don't know.
S.E. Robinson. He sounds just like Steve Robinson.
It doesn't sound just like
My
him
goodness,
to me, but
it's
I don't
uncanny.
know.
You. And also wanted to thank you for all the great episodes in 2022.
From the same part of Maine. That's very interesting.
They must be. Wow.
Little advice from one guy to another.
Yeah.
Zipper on the opposite side means it's a lady's jacket. You know, kind of like shirts with buttons on the right, as opposed to buttons on the left. Makes it a blouse.
So, Tim, I don't think it is. Alice, do you think it is?
I don't think it is.
It's huge.
I wouldn't wear it.
No, it's like it's a pretty poor jacket. I don't think it is. I just think it's so badly made that it is. There's no woman should be wearing that. It is no man should be wearing it. As a matter of fact, either.
Okay.
Hey, Tom and Alice. I was wondering
Hi.
if you guys knew you could almost break a board after taking a blue chew. Almost.
Did you know that, Alice?
I didn't know that, no.
Wow, sorry. Wow.
I have broken boards at karate before.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Alice.
Little advice from...
Oh, thank you, Tim. That's Tim. Hold on. I'm all over the place here.
Okay.
Well, I do appreciate the Mackie outburst yesterday. I got to say, I think it's a little bit of misplaced anger. Come on, just admit it, you Apple zealot. Just admit it. Apple sucks. It's the bane of your existence.
BS.
Yeah, they're terrible.
What's causing you all these problems? God knows it's probably what gave you VD back in the day.
Probably.
Tim, that is not true. Apple is like driving a Ferrari compared to a stupid a hyperventilating Mac HVAC device like Alice had that can hear gasping. Your computer needs a CPAP, Alice. It's ridiculous. Oh, it's awful.
Hey guys, this question is directed at Tom. After listening to today's podcast, I was wondering, Tom, if you ever feel guilty about not paying your listeners therapist fees. Your daily rants and true confessions obviously must unburden you psychologically. Just a thought. Have a great Christmas, guys, and may God bless you both. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So there is some truth to that, Alice, because I am unloading a lot on people.
We do definitely use the podcast as therapy.
There's almost nothing left that's hasn't been said at this point.
We have not thought about paying you guys for that, but we definitely do use it as therapy.
Hey, Tom, this is Dana from Maine again. I forgot to say that I'm not part of the LGBTQ community, but if I were, it'd be because of you. Man, that brown jacket, $11. Man, it looks like $1,000 on you.
See, definitely not a lady's jacket. There you go.
Get that. Thank you so much. See, Alice? What would it take you? How come you can't be so positive as these?
I'm very positive towards you, honey, I think.
Okay.
Hey, guys, this question is directed.
Okay, I just played that. Unfortunately, I've got these. Alice goes through these and unmarks them.
I didn't touch them today.
Appreciate the Mackie outburst.
Okay,
you played that.
You played that. There we go. I'm going to go up. This is okay.
Go by number. They're numbered.
They're numbered?
On the right-hand side, there's a number.
Okay.
Hey, Tom, this is Jack Nicholson.
Oh, Alice.
I was wondering if
he's talking to you.
Film Indecent Proposal.
Yes.
Just wanted to know if Alice wanted to come over to my place and watch it.
Al, what kind of figure are we talking, Jack? Actually, that would be interesting. That would be interesting, Alice. Alice, if would you go and be Jack Nicholson's lover for $1 million? Wow. 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 Did you not hear the question, Alice? Is that the problem?
No further comment at this time.
I see exactly the nature of our relationship. Goodness. All it took. Because I'm putting you in the Mrs. Claus lingerie for tomorrow's show or for Sunday's show.
Merry Christmas, season's greetings from Sean Connery.
There you go.
Hi,
Alice, do
Sean.
you like Sean Connery?
Yeah, of course.
You must like Sean Connery, of course, because he smacks his ladies around. Yeah, that is. Yep.
Hi, Steve America.
Steve.
Alice's aside yesterday about the General Motors recalling 140,000 Chevy Bolts because of a fire risk with the carpet reminded me of several years ago. Maybe it was during Superstorm Sandy or another big hurricane. Like the entire inventory of a Tesla dealership somewhere, whether it was New York or Florida, was submerged, and all of the cars caught fire underwater.
Yeah.
And couldn't be put out, while they were underwater, and as the water receded, they were still burning, and they can't be put out even when they're in the open air, and firemen are hitting it with hoses.
No,
it's a really great idea. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, the more of them that we can have, I think, the better. It seems good.
It's so funny because, and that happened in the most recent hurricane in Florida as well, to the bursting into flames. And another problem they're having now is when firemen engage these, these 6. By the way, somebody sent me a message on what that's called when all the
mutual aid.
Mutual aid.
I think that was
is that they're having a problem now
Florida, maybe
they're using so much. They're using so much water now that the runoff is, of course, toxic because of the batteries.
Right.
So now they're having to let a lot of these cars just burn out, and just watch it.
But then what do you do with it too? Because that's like the argument that all the environmental crazy climate people make about nuclear. They're like, but the waste is terrible and we can't get rid of. What are we doing with all these lithium batteries that are so toxic and stuff? Like, I don't, and like burnt out electric cars and whatever else. I don't get it.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays from Richard Nixon.
Dick Nixon, Alice, you would have found.
I don't have a thing for Richard Nixon. There you go.
Richard
There's
Nixon.
one that I'm not in love with.
President when Thomas Shattuck was born, as a matter of fact, Alice. Tom Shattuck.
Good to know.
Turn the volume up to high. Listen to Alice's vocal fry. Tom is grumpy, don't you see? Been since 1973. Politics, sports, religion too. Happy Hanukkah to the Jews. Alice would say it's all God's plan that she became a Minifan. Burn barrel. Chelsea, wicked fire, hot sauce. Barrel, Chelsea fire, wicked fire, hot sauce.
That is brilliant.
I love that.
Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend. Best to all the burn barrelers out there. It's been a fun year on the chat and on the pod. Keep up the good work. Have fun with your families and hopefully don't go broke buying presents. It's a jungle out there.
Too late for that, Danny. We're coming into the game broke. Danny, there you go. Touch of class, Alice, from Greater Lowell. Okay? Wouldn't hurt you, Alice, to rub off, to leave your highfalutin towns and go meet some real people out there. Hey, guys, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. I guess this is our last time we're talking before Crispy, which happens Saturday.
Sunday is Christmas.
I'm on the air. By the way, but guys, if you get
Sunday's Christmas
tomorrow,
time. Get away.
Oh, is it? Okay. Is it really? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, so we're having a Christmas show.
Yes.
And you're going to be wearing your outfit. Oh, this is great.
Maybe. I don't know about that.
There's no maybe. This is my present. And there's you're going as skimpy as it goes. You are going. I didn't buy this Studebaker to not show it off. Come on. All right. See you Sunday. By the way, Alice will be joining me tomorrow on the air in WTIC as well for between 11 and 3 for as long as I can have her. As long as I can have her, Alice. You can jump in when I talk to the astrophysicist.
We'll be there. We are actually where we are now at the Avon Old Farms Hotel. And
room numbers, Alice.
You can see us there. Thank you so much for listening. As always, Merry Christmas to everybody. Enjoy the time with your families. And we'll see you actually on Christmas Day night for a burn barrel. And yeah, it has been a great year. We still got 1 week left. And yeah, you can find the Patreon at patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can also go to burnbarrelpodcast.com.
C'est la vie.